Kling just released their 1.6 model, and after watching this video, there is a good chance you may want to cancel all other AI video generation services and consolidate all of your coins in Kling AI. As I mentioned in my previous video where I talked about the video generators that I used for my recent AI cinematic music video, out of the top 3 video generators that I used for that project, which turned out to be Runway ML, Luma Dream Machine, and Kling AI, even though Kling performed well, the 1.5 model, because I didn't have access to 1.6 at the time, even though Kling 1.5 performed somewhat well, a great majority of those clips failed and did not produce the desired result that I was after. It also took an extremely long time for those videos to generate, and so Kling 1.5 lagged far behind Runway ML and Luma Dream Machine in terms of having the amount of video clips that were successful enough to make it into that music video. Now Kling 1.6 is out, and holy shit, I have to say that if I had Kling 1.6 during the creation of that cinematic music video, it is more than likely that I would have just purchased more credits and made the entire music video with Kling 1.6 alone. That is how amazing this update is, and I'm going to show you all of that in this video. We're going to look at some text-to-video examples that I ran, but we're not going to spend a lot of time on text-to-video because as narrative filmmakers, as I've mentioned many times on this channel, our main interests lie in image-to-video, and man, Kling 1.6 does an amazing job with image-to-video with this new update. The update is so good, in fact, all of the other image-to-video generation models are going to have to step up their game. Guys, Kling has clearly set a new benchmark for image-to-video, and we're just going to go ahead and get right into the video because I want to get to the point to where you guys can see the results of my test and see for yourself that it's probably going to be worth your time to spend more of your money with Kling with this 1.6 update. So with that said, let's go ahead and get right into the video. And so before we get too far, you definitely need to understand what this update entails. And what we're going to do is watch this quick announcement video from Kling so that you get an idea of what we're going to be diving into. Now, it was very easy to have missed that because it just kind of flew across the screen very quickly, so I'm going to go back to it right quick. They are saying the Kling AI 1.6 model has a 195% overall improvement, and I'm telling you right now, I'm seeing that 195% for myself. They also say improved prompt adherence to prompts with movements. Based on my testing, the prompt adherence is best in class to date. Again, guys, they just came out with this 1.6 model like a day or two ago. In fact, it came out the same day that I uploaded my previous video, because in that video I talked about not having access to 1.5 at the time, and then later on that exact day I got the notification that I had access to 1.6. They are not lying. This 1.6 model has improved prompt adherence to prompts with movements, and I'm going to show you exactly that. Now that last part is also important. Upgrade at no extra cost. The 1.6 model costs the same as the 1.5 model. So basically, when you use the Pro mode, it's 35 credits, and when you use the standard mode, it's 20 credits. All of my tests were done in the Pro mode, or professional mode rather. Professional, Pro, same thing. So I'll be demonstrating everything in professional mode. So now that you've seen this update video, you understand what's been improved with the software. Let's actually go over to Kling and take a look at how how this is different from 1.5 and all the other previous models. Okay guys, so we're now in Kling, and what I want to show you is that the way you get to the 1.6 model is you come to the drop down screen and you'll see here it says Kling 1.6 greatly improved prompt adherence for more consistent and dynamic results. And again, you can do that by coming in here from your dashboard. I'll go back to the dashboard just so that you see how I got here. So when you log into Kling, this is going to be clear as day right here where it says AI videos, try Kling 1.6. So they're encouraging you to try their 1.6 model because they pretty much know that it's badass. And you click here and it takes you into the player. What you will also notice is that everything looks exactly the same, but you need to be aware of the following. Just like how in Kling 1.0, things like camera movement wasn't available, it is also not available in 1.6. Also, motion brush is currently unavailable in Kling 1.6 as well. The only way you're able to use motion brush and camera movement is still within Kling 1.5. As you can see right there, motion brush becomes activated as well as camera movement. But here's the thing, Kling 1.6 is so good for the most part that I'm not even sure they're going to even bother to implement 1.6 in camera movement. I mean, they probably still will because it still gives you a greater degree of control over your scenes, especially if you don't want to guess camera movements. So I'm sure it's coming at some point, but I'm going to show you that you really don't need it right this minute. And again, motion brush was something that I really didn't get into. It looked very promising, but since I didn't use it a lot, it's not anything that I'm going to miss while it's not available. The other thing that I want to point out is make sure that you're looking at Kling's video documentation because it tells you exactly how to prompt within their ecosystem. And as I'm going to show you, I'm going to be using some very simple prompts for image to video. And previously, simple prompts like this, as I showed you in my previous upload, Kling really struggled with. It was very hit or miss. They also have instructions on how to do text to video, but again, we're not going to spend a lot of time on text to video. In fact, I'm going to show you what I did for the text to video test right now. So to make things simple, guys, the only thing I did was copy the exact same prompts from the Kling 1.6 video update that we just watched. Anime style, a girl opens her eyes, looks at the camera and does a hand heart. Now, I'm pretty sure this is probably image to video, but I'm going to run it as text to video. And for text to video, this was my criteria. I was only going to generate one generation of these. As you'll see in my image to video, I did a few generations on them, and I also gave them a third shot to see if it vastly improves once I change the prompt a bit. But again, most of you, like me, are here for narrative AI filmmaking, and as I've said multiple times, your best bet is going to be with image to video because of the greater degree of control that you have over your images and the final output. With text to video, it's a roll of the dice. As you can see, this image does not look anything like this image right here, which is why I believe that it is an image to video generation, which looked awesome in the update video. But this is how my version turned out using the exact same prompt. So I'm guessing that's her knees at the beginning, and then she comes up. She does do the hand heart though. So if all we're saying is a girl opens her eyes, looks at the camera and does the hand heart, she does exactly that. And another thing that I want to encourage you guys to do is when something works well, let Kling know so that they can continue to improve the model. This tells them what's working and what's not. That's the reason why I don't understand why platforms like Hailuo don't have something like that. Luma Dream Machine doesn't have this either, but they seem to be getting along just fine. But how can you train your model if you don't have any feedback mechanism? So again, we're going to say that's a good result. We're going to say accurate understanding. We're going to say a high quality video. I'm not going to say magnificent dynamic effect because I would say that for the video that they had in their demo video, but this was pretty good. And you have the option to add words. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to hit submit. And let's go ahead and move on to the next one. Now this shot right here, I thought was very impressive, especially how it moved in on her face. That shot was a very good outcome. I'm also assuming that this is image to video as well, just because of the generation that I got using the exact same prompt. So we're going to click on this and see how my version turned out with the exact same prompt. So that did not look very good at all, even though it does do the zooming in close up on the girl's face. It still doesn't look all that good, and it looks like her mouth is webbed together, and it also looks like she's just kind of standing still. It doesn't even look like they're really flying or moving or anything like that. They're just kind of hovering. So I don't really know if I want to rate this one because honestly, again, it's just text to video and I'm not expecting too much from that. Again, it's the exact same prompt and this is what I got, and that is why I tell you guys guys, don't spend too much time on text to video unless you're doing some B-roll or something like that. Let's just go ahead and move on to the next one. This is the shot of the rotating sculpture that cracks and then the lava comes flowing out. If we look at my version, same prompt, but here's the difference. This again is likely image to video because this has the shape of a head, and this prompt says nothing about the shape of a face or a head. Again, I took the exact same prompt. Yep, the shot is rotating. A sculpture is cracked, but it wasn't whole at first and then cracks, and then lava comes pouring out. Again, I'm not really going to say this is a bad generation because I didn't start with the base like they did, which was a head of a sculpture that crumbles and then lava comes pouring out. But again, this is what I got using the exact same prompt. Let's move on to the next one. Now, this was the only other text to image generation that I tried. A whale jumps into a sea of sand making waves. Again, likely the scenario for this one was image to video, and this right here was my version using the exact same prompt. The whale definitely jumps onto sand, but it's not a sea of sand. Does a big belly flop on the beach, which would probably kill the damn thing. But again, it's trying to adhere to the prompt based on what we gave it. If I had an image of a whale in the middle of the desert, like the image that they had in the demo video, then more than likely I would get the same type result. So again, this is not the most exciting part of this update. I just wanted to show you some text to video generations just so that I could say that I covered it and you guys have an idea of what it looks like. Obviously, you're going to want to try your own text to video prompts to see what your outcome is on your end. Now for the exciting part, let's get into the image to video generations. Now, before we get into these examples, I want to again say the methodology that I used for this. I gave each image at least 2 shots. One of the shots was with a prompt and the other shot was a no prompt generation. If the image with the prompt didn't turn out too well, I gave it one more shot with a little bit of modification to the prompt itself to see if it does any better on that second try. And again, just to show you, you can see the exact prompts that I used right here on the side. And then you also see that I used the professional mode for this particular shot, and it's all of these shots, and you can see that as we go along. I didn't do any modifications to the creativity slider. It's at 0.5. And again, you can't do any camera movement because it's unavailable in 1.6. I didn't add any negative prompts. All of the durations are going to be at 5 seconds. We've only generated 1 for each. And also, again, motion brush is not available in 1.6. So this is all we're doing right here. So the prompt for this is walking through the hallway of a space station. I didn't say a female walking through the hallway. I didn't say a female retro sci-fi blah blah blah. All I said was walking through the hallway of a space station. Let's see how that turned out. Now, as a dude that loves a chick with some hips, I love that shot and I would absolutely use this. I will say that I was probably expecting it to be like a tracking shot. As she's walking, the camera would kind of just move backwards as she's walking forward and the camera to be tracking with her. But man, those hips, those thighs had me mesmerized and I'm like, yeah, I like this shot. So I went ahead and said this one was good to go. And again, she's walking through the hallway. I mean, you didn't even have to probably add space station. It was still going to work. Now let's look at the no prompt example and see what Kling AI 1.6 came up with. So no prompt, and this is what we got right here. And again, that's a workable shot. I will say I don't care too much for the looking off to the side, but for the most part, this shot works. And if you had to edit that out, you could. So you have to understand what's going on here. We didn't give Kling any prompt and it already kind of guessed what should be happening in this scene. Maybe we got lucky, but it has the woman walking forward through a hallway and I didn't tell it to do that. So that's all of the shots that we did for this one, because again, the one with the prompt was to my liking and the one without the prompt was to my liking. Let's move on to the next one. Now with this shot, the only thing I said in this prompt was slow zoom out. Let's see how it turned out. And it did exactly that. It did a slow zoom out. And that was the other reason why I was saying that maybe they don't even introduce the camera controls anymore, because it did exactly what I told it to do. Slow zoom out. We're getting a slow zoom out. And notice her eye movement. So she's blinking. She's not like got a frozen face. If you needed to use this shot in like a car commercial or something, that would absolutely work. So again, this was a good result. Gave it a thumbs up. Let's move on to the version with no prompt. Now I like this shot because it was almost like a behind the scenes type shot to where she's on the set as a model and then maybe they're saying something to her and she's like, okay, well, let me hear, what are you saying? Can you say it again? And again, we didn't give it a prompt, so we can't say that this was a bad shot, that it didn't follow what we needed it to do. But without the prompt, we got something as cool as this. So I'm gonna go ahead and just say this was a good result. It's a high quality video. It's definitely got magnificent dynamic effect. Accurate understanding, I'm not gonna rate it for that because again, we didn't add any prompt to this. Now here's a version that didn't follow the prompt exactly. The prompt says camera static, and when you look at this video, the car is riding through the street. Now again, I can see how that could be a bit confusing to the AI because the camera's tracking with the car driving, right? So the camera is static, it's not moving around. I mean, it's tracking. Maybe it's kind of the same thing, but I was expecting the car not to move or the camera to move, but that one didn't really go how I planned. I'm not going to really rate it as bad because again, we don't know how the AI was thinking about this shot, and I'm actually going to show you how I fixed that in just a second. But this is what this image to video generation looked like with the prompt camera static. Now this version is the no prompt version, and I would say that's a pretty good shot without having given any camera direction. And again, the car just kind of slowly rolls through the street. Now a bit here, it seems like it's going a bit sideways, but again, that could just be perception. It still looks like the car is driving forward, and I like how the smoke is going in the background right there, because as you remember, as you see over here, that's what the image looked like to begin with. It had a lot of smoke around it, and the snow is still kind of hanging out on the hood. So I'm going to rate that as a good shot. I'm going to say it's a high quality video, magnificent dynamic effect. Again, we're not going to rate it for accurate understanding because we didn't give it any direction. Now what we're going to do is show you the version where I modified the prompt a bit. So camera static, the car does not move, and that's exactly what happened. And I like how the headlights came on. I didn't ask for that, but it just added a little extra to the scene, and it looks fantastic. So again, guys, the prompt adherence for Kling 1.6 is phenomenal. I said car does not move, the car is not moving whatsoever, but everything else around it is animated, which is expected because again, the image itself has this smoke going on, so it would make no sense if the smoke was just kind of frozen as well. And so as per the rules that I set for this, that was the instance to where I gave this another shot to see if I can improve the prompt instance on the second go round. Let's move on to the next one. The prompt says camera slow orbit right, and the camera is slowly orbiting. Now I don't know if it thinks my right is its left because the camera is moving left, but maybe it orbits to the right. I don't know. You know, I didn't really spend a lot of time on how that works in cinematography, but the camera is definitely orbiting exactly how I wanted it to. If I'm thinking about it, I may have wanted it to go the other direction, but I could be completely wrong in how that works. So the camera does slowly orbit, and I will go ahead and say this was a good shot. Let's go ahead and give it that magnificent dynamic effect. And I'm going to say accurate understanding because it got the orbit correct. Now, since the first instance worked out how we wanted it, the only other instance I did was the no prompt example, and this shot turned out great as well. So I'm going to go ahead and click good result. High quality video, magnificent dynamic effect because the camera's kind of moving, people are moving in the background, his fingers are moving like he's actually playing a saxophone. Again, guys, do you see how this really just changes a lot of how you've been approaching re-rolling your videos, especially at places like Hailuo, where maybe out of 5 rolls, the 6th one may work. And again, this is something that other platforms are going to have to really benchmark against because it's going to be easy for people to make a decision to just come over to Kling because your shots are going to work the first or second try. So why spend a bunch of time re-rolling things, running out of your credits, when you can use a platform where the stuff works as you expect it to? I digress. Let's keep rolling. Now, admittedly, this shot didn't work out as I expected it, and I don't know what this is right here. It's definitely not a arm, and it can't be a leg, but let's look at the prompt itself. The prompt says a female pilot in the cockpit of her spaceship speeding through space. Now, I was of the impression that when I made this image that this was just kind of like glass on the spaceship itself, and maybe it would have shown like stars and things whizzing by outside of the window, but obviously that's not how the AI interprets it. She's definitely in her cockpit, and we can assume that she's flying through space, but again, I don't know what that is right here, and honestly, I can't really give it a bad score because the prompt just may not be all that great. So we can't really ding Kling for that because there's a lot going on again in the cockpit of her spaceship speeding through space, and if there's no other kind of indicators that she's in space, then the AI really really doesn't know what to do with that. So let's go ahead and take a look at the no prompt version. And this shot worked out a lot better because the camera slowly zooms out and she's typing on her little deck right there, maybe putting in her inputs, her coordinates and things like that. And so I can definitely say the AI knew how to interpret this shot. I also like some of the things going on over here to where the display is moving, some animated things on it. Now we don't know what that is, but she does, right? And again, because it has some dynamic movement in it, I'm going to mark it as a good result. I'm going to say it's a high quality video with magnificent dynamic range, and we're not going to say accurate understanding because again, we didn't give it any prompt guidance. Now, since this first shot with the prompt didn't work out exactly how I expected, we're going to look at the next shot that I gave it with a bit of a tweak to the prompt as well. So with this prompt, all I said was a female pilot in the cockpit of her spaceship, and then this thing comes up to where I guess she's going to take control and start flying. I would say that that's pretty valid. I will say that it looks somewhat like a steering wheel, but there's not enough of the image of that thing to say whether or not it's a steering wheel or not. For all we know, it could be a display that she's going to type into and put in her coordinates, and it's completely hands off. So I will say that that is a workable shot. It's a handheld shot. I like that as well because the camera's moving around and the facial movements, the eyes blinking, all of that stuff. Look at the dynamic range in the way these shots are turning out. This is amazing. So I'm still going to give it a good rating because all I said was a female pilot in the cockpit of her spaceship. I didn't say whether or not she's pressing buttons or she's got the controls and she's flying. It's a very simple prompt. The shot works. On to the next shot. Now this one was pretty funny and I kind of like it, but you know, it didn't follow exactly how I envisioned this would happen. I say the engines on the spacecraft ignite and it slowly ascends to the sky, and rather than the engines igniting, well I guess they ignite, the damn spaceship ignites and it still tries to lift off. And I love how she turns to look at this because again, if you look at this to me seems like the spaceship is exploding. But again, I can't really give it good points for that one, so I just went ahead and just said thumbs down because I wanted to say something like the engines come to life, the engines roar to life, something like that, but I absolutely was not expecting the spaceship to explode. Now for the no prompt version, this was a good shot. It's just a pretty much static shot with a little bit of camera movement and she's kind of looking off into the distance, and you even have movement from the people in the background. Like, you know, this person's static but these people are moving, which is even something that most video generators wouldn't do. Like they would have all of these people look very morphed, and again, you've got people moving around back here, you're going to see something flying across here. So this is a very good shot, so I'm going to go ahead and thumbs that up. High quality video, magnificent dynamic effect, and again, we're not going to rate on accurate understanding because we didn't give it a prompt. And so once again, we're going to try to give this another shot by modifying the prompt a bit, and this one performed much better, much more accurate understanding. The clip didn't last very long, but I imagine if I ran this for 10 seconds, then that airship would get completely off of the ground, and the prompt itself says the spacecraft slowly ascends to the sky, and that's pretty much what's going on here. It doesn't leave the wheels on the ground, which is great. Now this part lifts up higher than this back part back here, but you know, who knows, it could lift up vertically and then just take off in that direction. So all in all, I'll still say this is a workable shot, and I also like the way that she turns toward the ship as it's about to take off. And finally, this is the last thing that I tested, and it pretty much didn't work at all. The prompt says the Mech comes online and quickly flies up out of frame, and maybe she's going down like that because the AI wants you to think that she got inside of this thing and it flew up. But again, it doesn't look good at all, and I went ahead and thumbs that one down. But the prompt may be too complicated for it, and it may take a few iterations to get it how I would want it. But again, we're only giving these things 2 shots on the prompt and 1 shot on the no prompt version. Let's see what the no prompt version looks like. And this one, it's okay. She's talking, you can see, and you know, she could be talking to someone that's, you know, off screen that we don't see. And I like how this smoke is rising up back here. And again, you've got some camera movement, and if you look close enough, this thing is moving in the background. You see how his arms are kind of swaying, and you see when the clip starts over, it starts in one position and kind of goes to something else. So I'll say this was a good shot. I'll give it a thumbs up. I'll give it high quality, magnificent dynamic effect, and again, it performed pretty well for something that we really didn't give any direction to. Now this was the retry of that prompt, and it looks like it would have done something if this was maybe a 10-second clip, but this is what it did with 5 seconds only, and the prompt was changed to the robot flies upward out of frame, and obviously it it does not do that. So I could not give it any points for prompt adherence, and I went ahead and gave it a thumbs down. But who knows, maybe when they bring extend to the Kling 1.5 model, then maybe I could revisit this later and see what would happen if I extended this for 5 seconds. Of course, I could always try to keep tweaking the prompt to get it exactly how I wanted it. But again, since this is just for demonstration purposes, this particular shot didn't work on 2 tries. So guys, what do you think? Are you excited about this Kling 1.6 update? Are you currently using Kling? And if not, are you now going to start using Kling? And does this new update have you seriously reconsidering all of the other tools you may be using for image to video, and maybe having you thinking that you aggregate all of your spend to Kling AI going forward? And do you also agree that this is a very clear, a very new benchmark that all other image to video platforms must adhere to if they plan on having us continue to pay them money month after month? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this demonstration of this new update from Kling AI, then be sure to be generous by smashing that thumbs up button, and also be sure to subscribe to the channel so that you don't miss any new cool updates such as this one. And if you really want to show your support, make sure that you go below and click the link to become a member of this channel, because not only are you going to get exclusive perks and benefits from me personally, you'll also be able to save up to 15% off the upcoming AI cinematographer's Midjourney playbook that's going to allow you to generate some very dope images like the ones we were using for all of the image to video testing that we did. But again, if anything, be sure to like and subscribe. Once again, my name is Paul Adonis Maximus. Thanks for checking out this video. Please join me in the next one.